United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nothing
like the pledge to quiet everybody down and everybody enjoys.
Councilwoman Flood. Here. Councilwoman Standard. Here. Councilman Morelli.
Here.
Councilwoman Wallowitz. Here. Supervisor Barrett.
Here, we don't have any town board minutes, just a couple of communications and announcements. I want to congratulate James Altenberger, who's one of our lead guards in our lifeguard team here at the town. He just conducted a lifeguard training class. It was a class that we announced about a month and a half or 2 months ago that offered free lifeguard training for individuals. We did it at the Country Knolls pool, Locust Lane pool, and also the pool in Ballston Spa. And the objective was to hopefully recruit more individuals who wanted to be lifeguards and reduce the barrier to entry to take that class. It might be $450 in that area. And the effort was very successful. We had 28 individuals complete the lifeguarding course. And with the general shortage of lifeguards in general across the country as well as here, although right now we're in very good shape, we want to continually build for the future and make sure that we have as many lifeguards as possible to serve not only at our pools at the town, but pools across Saratoga County. So that was very successful, and I want to thank everybody involved. It also announced recently, press conference at Shen, we announced free EMT training that would be offered in partnership with Saratoga County. And we had 6 individuals register for the class that'll take place this summer. So, and that class will take place in the Malta Tech campus. And that training, $4,500, $5,000, somewhere in that area. So that'll be completely free. In addition, our partner, Clifton Park EMS, will provide support for these individuals as they go through the class and when they complete the class. So that was born of our concern of the lack of EMTs that as we look out into the future, there's been a diminishing number of EMTs serving across the country, and something that we needed to plan for, and this class will help graduate 6 more EMTs in our community. So very happy that that is moving ahead. Also want to announce that I've been tasked with, as chairman of our public health task force for Saratoga County, to build out an environmental health department at the county. It's a multi-million-dollar effort, a couple dozen positions, and the accepting many responsibilities for things like inspections of pools and day camps and restaurants and lead poisoning. There's a whole slew of programs involved with environmental health. The state has always conducted those responsibilities on behalf of Saratoga County. Now that we've hit a certain population level, the county is now accepting those responsibilities. So it's a major undertaking, but we've made great progress so far, and we made a great step forward by hiring Brian Miner as our environmental health director. So I just want to keep everybody updated that initiative continues to move forward, and we're making great progress. And I'll continue to give updates as we go forward. Also, yesterday was the Deanna Rivers tournament, annual tournament here in the town of Clifton Park, and just want to it's turned into a wonderful community event over the years, remembering just beaming lights of our community that were lost way too soon. And the tournament has been a source not only of community remembrance, continuing the legacy, support for the Rivers and Stewart families and others, but also a way to give back. They have been able to raise a substantial amount of money and donate those funds to important nonprofits within our community. So that another successful softball tournament yesterday here on the Common. Any other communications or announcements? All right. We'll move straight to a recognition of some great athletes that are here this evening. How about you give yourself a hand? We have Shenendehowa Track and Field, Unified Basketball, Lacrosse. We just want to say how proud we are of all of you and the great job that you've done. And I'm sure you learn a lot, obviously, participating in a sport. A lot of life lessons that you'll carry, and memories that you'll carry with you for many, many years. So congratulations to you all.
All right, thank you to everybody for coming. The athletic director at Shen couldn't be here tonight, Christopher Coleman. He is at a Suburban Council Student Athlete Leadership Dinner tonight, so he did say thank you for the recognition to all these teams. I would like to thank the board for this opportunity to recognize these teams, for the athletes for coming, and for the coaches for doing such an amazing job with all our teams. These teams had really successful seasons this year, and like the supervisor said, it's a blessing because I know these athletes will use these skills beyond just their time at Shen. So these are life skills that they learn from their coaches. The first two teams unfortunately couldn't be here. I don't know where we would put them. But the girls track and field team has their banquet tonight, so they couldn't be here tonight. But their coach Rob said thank you for the recognition of his team, that they are sorry they couldn't be here. I would like to read their certificate of recognition. And it says, certificate of recognition, whereas the Shenendehowa Central School District offers a variety of interscholastic athletic opportunities for girls and boys at all levels of competition, and whereas over the course of the school year, there are over 1,500 students participating in varsity, junior varsity, freshman, modified, and unified competition, and whereas throughout the long 2020 season, members of the Shenendehowa girls outdoor track and field team built upon their record of legacy, competing at local, state, and national competitions. And whereas at their competitions, members of the Shenendehowa girls outdoor track and field team have won numerous individual titles and relays. And whereas members of the Shenendehowa girls outdoor track and field team have run on the national stage, competing at the 2022 Penn Relays, reaching the finals in the 4x800 relay. And whereas the Shenendehowa girls track and field team's future remains bright for both their graduating seniors and those returning next year. So on behalf of the town board, we would just like to recognize them. I think we should give them another round of applause. And unfortunately, the boys, well, fortunately, they have made it to the state national competition. So they're in training right now. They're doing homework and studying for exams. And Coach Burlingame said that, again, he apologizes they can't be here, but they're still in their season. So we have a certificate of recognition for them that says, whereas the Shenendehowa Central School District offers a variety of interscholastic athletic opportunities for girls and boys at all levels of competition, and whereas over the course of the school year, there are 1,500 students participating in junior varsity, freshman, modified, and unified competition. And whereas throughout the long season, members of the Shenendehowa boys outdoor track and field team won numerous individual titles, while setting school and sectional records at local, state, and national competitions. And whereas the members of the Shenendehowa boys outdoor track and field team had their most successful New York State Federation meet in school history, with 8 athletes making the podium. And whereas the members of the Shenendehowa boys outdoor track and field team have achieved numerous end-of-season honors, and whereas the Shenendehowa boys track and field team's future remains bright for the graduating seniors and those returning next year. So again, the board would like to congratulate them on this recognition. recognition. I'll read the recognition first, and then I'll invite the coach up to say a few words. This certificate of recognition, whereas the Shenandoah Central School District offers a variety of interscholastic athletic opportunities for girls and boys at all levels of competition. And whereas over the course of the school year, there are over 1,500 students participating in varsity, JV, freshman, modified, and unified competition. And whereas the Shenandoah School District pioneered the concept of unified sports as one of our 4 original school districts in New York State. And whereas there are now over 450 schools across New York State participating in unified sports, providing an opportunity for every player to contribute to the success of his or her team through their unique skills. And whereas the Shenandoah Unified Basketball Team are leaders within their school and community, both on and off the court, working to break down stereotypes and foster relationships amongst their peers and fellow athletes. And whereas the Shenandoah Unified Basketball Team has brought the entire Shenandoah community together with programs such as Fans in the Stands. And whereas after the loss of previous seasons due to COVID-19, the team came back stronger, leading one district administrator to remark, the Shenandoah Unified Basketball Team restores your soul. So we're very proud and honored. Coach Blarney, you want to come up and say your words?
Thank you all for having us here to the board and Councilwoman Flood. We appreciate the support. As Councilwoman Flood said, this program is really special and dear to all of our hearts at Shenandoah. Our team is formed by students with and without intellectual disabilities, and it gives an opportunity for students to play on the same team. So we competed in a 8-game regular season schedule, along with having a playoff format as well. So more importantly, rather than the wins and losses, is the character and what these student athletes continue to show us day in and day out. Their resilience, their respect for each other, their teamwork, their positivity. Literally, there's nothing better to see. So kudos to all of our athletes here at Shenandoah. And really the last thing that I would love to say is inclusion. Inclusion, we embody inclusion, acceptance, and respect. And there's nothing that you can't do without hard work and without positivity and working together. So thank you so much for your time, and congratulations to all the athletes.
Thank you.
The next certificate of recognition is for the Shenandoah Girls 2022 Lacrosse Team. And this one says, whereas the Shenandoah Central School District offers a variety of interscholastic athletic opportunities for girls and boys at all levels of competition, and whereas over the course of the school year, there are over 1,500 students participating in varsity, junior varsity, freshman, modified, and unified competition. And whereas the Shenandoah Girls Lacrosse Team opened their 2022 season with a 13-7 win over Niskayuna. Whereas throughout the ups and downs of a long and arduous season, the Shenandoah Girls Lacrosse Team was determined to keep making history. And whereas the Shenandoah Girls Lacrosse Team achieved their first ever sectionals title with a 12-8 win over Saratoga in the Section 2 Class A finals. And whereas the members of the Shenandoah Girls Lacrosse teams have been recognized with numerous end-of-season honors, including Academic All-American First Team, Second Team, and Honorable Mention Suburban Council. And whereas the Shenandoah Girls Lacrosse team's future remains bright for both their graduating seniors and those returning next year. So again, the board is saying congratulations to all you winners.
So first, I just want to thank the board for having us here and strong support for us and everything in the community. We really appreciate it. One thing that this season that sticks in my mind is just the attitude that these girls came to practice every day with. They did a great job balancing having fun and that focus and getting stuff done. And it made my job real easy to come to practice and want to be with them. So kudos to you for having a great attitude and wanting to be there. We are going to miss the seniors. They did a lot for us. They did a great job. They're going to do great things wherever they're going in their next chapter of their life, and we're looking forward to underclassmen coming up. And again, thank you guys. We appreciate it, and good luck. Congratulations to all of the athletes.
And last but certainly not least, I would like to invite Councilwoman Standard up here as well. This Shenandoah Boys Lacrosse Team recognition is from both of us, and I believe you need to read it because I will cry.
Okay. Okay, congratulations to everyone. So this certificate of recognition states that the Shenandoah Central School District offers a variety of interscholastic athletic opportunities for boys and girls at all levels of competition. And whereas over the course of a school year, there are over 1,500 students participating in varsity, junior varsity, freshman, modified, and unified competition. And whereas the Shenandoah Boys Lacrosse Team opened their 2022 season with a harbinger of what was to come, a string of hard-won victories. Started off with beating Niskayuna, right? Huge. Whereas throughout the tough losses and emotional wins of a long season, the Shenandoah Boys Lacrosse Team came out as the top-seeded team in Section 2 Class A, where they were determined to ride the top spot to victory. And whereas the Shenandoah Boys Lacrosse Team achieved their first ever sectionals title since 2016 with a 15-9 win over Guilderland in the Section 2 Class A finals, avenging a regular season loss. It was one heck of a game. And whereas the members of the Shenandoah Boys Lacrosse Team have been recognized with numerous end-of-season honors, including Academic All-American, First Team, Second Team, and Honorable Mentions for Urban Council. And whereas the Shenandoah Boys Lacrosse Team's future remains bright for both their graduating seniors and those returning next year. Now therefore be it resolved that we, Town Councilwoman Amy Flood and Amy Standart, on behalf of the Town of Clifton Park, do hereby recognize Shenandoah Boys 2022 Lacrosse Team.
First of all, thank you to the board for the recognition. It's a great opportunity to be here to recognize such a great group of young men. Congratulations to the girls team and the unified team and all the other teams that won this year. This is truly a special honor, and it's a great opportunity to be here to, like I said, recognize these athletes. Many of them, when I look back there, they've started this journey when they were in kindergarten, first, second, third grade, and to have it kind of culminate for the seniors with a Class A section championship is something that they will take with them for the rest of their lives, and that's a great memory to have. We had a little overview of our season, 15-4 this year, Class A champs, as we mentioned, 6 all-league players, an academic All-American, 15 scholar athletes. All right, so that's 15 out of 31 with an average of 90 or higher. So it's a group that's doing it in the classroom, on the field. Truly great examples for the Shenandoah community. So, huge thank you to the seniors for taking the lessons from prior teams and passing on lessons to the people that are going to follow you to keep the Shen tradition going and hopefully seeing us up here year after year. So thank you and congratulations to our athletes.
Some boys need to come in here.
How are you?
How you doing? Good to see you. Come squeeze in here, boys. Oh, yeah.
Pack it in tight, boys.
Can you see us all? Can you see these guys?
I want to take keys.
Got it? All right, thank you.
Thank you to everybody for coming. We appreciate your support. Have a good night. Thank you. I know a lot of the seniors need to get running because there's a Shen senior night thing over on the field, so you guys are welcome to leave now.
As I walk into the car.
All right, so we do congratulate all of these athletes and all the athletes that compete at Shen and our various schools. And we're fortunate to have many athletes that are achieving each year and going on to perhaps play in college and take their skills to the next level. So congratulations to all of them. All right, we now have a public forum this evening. And the idea was, I know, we know there's quite a bit of interest in this topic. It has been the subject of a lot of discussion over the last several years. It was part of a lawsuit that the town had some involvement in, asking for a declaratory judgment. So it's the issue has, or the request, the issue, however you want to phrase it, has been a topic of discussion for some time. But it's also changed over time. So I thought it would be a good idea to have a public forum. I'll ask the applicant to present exactly what the request is to make sure that there's it's very clear what's in front of us, and then offer an opportunity for folks who want to discuss the matter. But come on up, sir. How are you tonight?
Good, thank you.
Sure.
Oh.
Yeah, we can see that.
All right, good evening, Luigi Piletti here with ABB Engineers, here representing KLB Enterprises
for the project here, property off of Wooddale Drive. The site acreage is about 28.5 acres. It's zoned B1. And what the applicant is proposing are 9 two-family dwelling units. The access to the site is off of Wooddale Drive. Back in 1968, there was a paper street intending to have a subdivision in this area here. So if most of you are familiar with the project, it is 28.5 acres. There are some federal wetlands, and you have to the north, the Adirondack Northway. You have the existing single-family subdivision along Wooddale Drive. Several homes in that neighborhood, and it's a unique piece of property where this grade elevation is a lot lower than the residents on Wooddale Drive. So we presented this project to the planning board. We went before the planning board 3 times actually, proposing a single-family subdivision with the duplexes, and we talked about several concerns. We talked about the slopes to get down into this area. We talked about staying away from the federal wetlands. And what we did was we addressed a lot of the concerns, not only by the planning board, but by the town residents. Several town residents did come out and speak at public forums during the planning board meeting, and we listened and we addressed a lot of the concerns. After the 3rd revision with the planning board, we went from a conventional layout where a lot of these homes would be further back in the lots, being closer to the neighbors and closer to the steep slopes in the back where we would have to clear some more trees. But at the 3rd round, we proposed a layout for a cluster subdivision. So cluster subdivision allows the houses to be closer to the road, which in turn pushes the proposed houses further away from the residents, further away from the slopes, further away from the federal wetlands, making the project viable. We've had the project reviewed by planning department, town designated engineers. We took it to a point even for conceptual level, a preliminary grading plan. Because of the grades, there was some uncertainty whether or not we could design a town road with the town standards. So we advanced the design. We showed a plan and profile showing how we can meet the town standards with the proper slopes and radiuses to get this town roadway dead ending with a cul-de-sac. Again, with a lot of the units being designed as a cluster subdivision, and the planning board was in favor of that cluster subdivision. We also, as part of our discussion, we looked at where the town road would come out onto Wooddale. We did a site distance analysis showing how, because we're on the outside curve of Wooddale Drive, gives you the maximum view from this proposed town road entrance in both directions. So we provided an analysis to the planning board, to the town designated engineer, and we also shared it with the town highway superintendent. We received a letter from the town superintendent agreeing with our analysis and basically stating that there's no issues with where we're proposing this town road. So going back a little bit, I mentioned in 1968 there was a paper street that was always intended to have a subdivision in that direction. However, there is a division line between the 2 property owners, and we're proposing 30 feet on each side of that division line. And after discussing this and getting a positive recommendation from the planning board to the town board, the planning board thought it'd be a good idea for the town board to look at this as offer of session at this time of day before we wait till the end of building a town road, because a lot of subdivisions that come before most municipalities, you get the subdivision approvals, the roads are built, and that 80% of the time is when the applicant would come back and ask for dedication of that road. But they thought up front, because of the legal issue, that we would be before this town board to get your discussion and approval. Not that, I don't know if you can approve the town road because it's not built yet, but we need to know so that we can get back before the planning board to proceed with preliminary and final subdivision as well as seeker. Now, we all remember back in 2010, 11, or 12, I think it was 2012, where this particular project was part of a PUD or PDD, okay, where seeker was looked at, a full environmental impact study was done from here all the way to Usher's Woods, and the density of what was proposed was a lot denser than what we're proposing here at this time. And at that study, it showed even with a greater density that there were no significant environmental impacts. So we feel that this is one of the better layouts. Again, we've worked with the planning board diligently to get to this point, and it's currently zoned B1, so there could be worse uses that can be put here, whether it be through a private driveway or whatnot. So we believe, keeping it residential in character provides another type of housing in the community. We see a lot of the existing residents here actually buying one of these down to stay in the neighborhood, maybe older couples, with their kids in the neighborhood, keeping within the close proximity, staying close to where they grew up. So we're here tonight asking the town board to consider this town road in this location. If it's not a town road, we could look at a private road. I think we've done the studies at this time to show and prove engineering wise that we can design this town road to town standards. And with other backup between the planning board and town highway superintendent, reviewing the details that we've provided to date, we want you to consider that. And, that's pretty much it for, if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them. But yeah, I don't know if you want to take it over or.
Okay, very good, thank you. Any questions for the presenter? Okay. So, but in basic terms, you're requesting that the town agree to take over the road as a public road once it's constructed.
Correct. Yeah. It's a town standard, 60 foot wide.
Right. Very good. All right. There might be some questions that come up.
Okay.
Yeah. So stay tuned, I guess.
All right. I'll stay there.
All right, so as I said, I did want to give the applicant an opportunity to go over this and make sure that there was no confusion about the request, although there may be some questions about the project. So at this time, that's what the public forum is for, so I'll just ask if you raise your hand, and I'll say, come on up, Jim, you're first. You had your hand up first, so you could come up to the podium and please state your name and address for the record, and please keep it to 5 minutes or less. How you doing, Jim? Okay.
Yeah, we'll see what's left here. I wrote a dozen, I think I'll show you some. Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is James Rule. I live at 168 Wooddale Drive, Olson Lake, New York. My residence is in Clifton Park. Given the previous presentation, the obvious focus tonight is on the Wooddale Drive community. A portion of this community extends from Usher's Road to Huntington Parkway, including intersecting roads to the west, is being threatened. Built as a build-out project by Robert Van Batten 60 years ago, the completeness and completeness of our community is now being challenged by the unsuitable and unsafe development report just presented. An 18-unit duplex development across Wooddale Drive from Arborview is the issue. The site will occupy a 29-acre erodible, steep, soft, sandy soil next to the wetlands and a Class A stream. All will be drastically degraded by the construction of this project. Additional erosion damage will be caused by clear cutting a large portion of the site. And that was pointed out for everything in the document. A large portion of the site, this foliage is presently a sound barrier for the site and much of Wooddale Drive. Wooddale Drive is up here, from here. Yes, excuse me, right here, and these are the residents that will be directly impacted and affected by the noise coming from the northway, and with this foliage barrier that now exists, eroded, placed, clear cut. The site is a portion of a ravine system. None of the topographic lines are presented on this map at all. It's a ravine system that runs from the proposed project almost to Usher's Road. Previous development projects, and I know you know about them because you entertained them, proposed for this area faltered due to their overwhelming negative environmental impact and ownership fragmentation. If the area were buildable, it would have been included in the original Van Patten subdivision. He was an expert on developing country mills, but this area was too obviously difficult even for his expertise. And this paper street was mentioned. The paper street by Van Patten could be at one end of the spectrum a mistake, but at the other end of the spectrum, it was never meant to be used as a street. He put two driveways over top of the paper street. It went to litigation. That street was then divided between the two property owners. You don't divide something between two property owners, you expect to be used for a road. So that myth that paper street was to lead to development is simply not true. At the end of that paper street, which the applicant now owns, was a landlocked parcel. That parcel was created when the Northway property was bought. The owner, the original owner, was given a premium because it was intended to be landlocked. That landlocked aspect of it was then the reason why it was so easily bought, so cheaply bought. It was never intended to be developed historically or by Van Patten's efforts. But the decisive issue for this unsuitable site is access. The proposed access road is unsafe. The road creates an intersection on a curve with limited sight distances after a long straightaway. The access road itself is a steep slope onto Wooddale Drive, thereby creating hazardous conditions, especially in the winter. And if that road and the grades are acceptable by the town, you should look into the winter conditions where the steep rise up and the steep rise down will, in essence, in terms of the opinions we have, preclude any school buses going in there. So the children will have to hike up, hike down, and wait on Wooddale Drive at the end of the driveway at a difficult intersection for the school bus.
Jim, 34 seconds.
This road is an alternative safety assessment, and to that end, Matthew Wooley will be here and giving that. Now, I will pass that out in the meantime because he is having some family problems, sick kid problems. But this is an alternative site study. After Matt, which of course we will have to wait for, I would like some other experts to testify, and in the meantime, we will do
Thank you,
so.
Jim.
Gentleman in the blue mask, you had your hand up next?
Yeah,
Come
mine-
on up, please.
No, let Dave go.
What's that?
I'd like Bill Connor to go and then myself, if that's okay.
Yeah, Bill had his hand up. Yep, go ahead, Bill.
And I'm gonna follow him and then the other.
Are you not want to speak, sir? Okay,
No, Jack.
I just questioned something the engineers said.
okay.
That's very important, I thought.
Thank you. My name is William Connor. I live at 17 Vista Court in Clifton Park. I'm a licensed architect. I've been a licensed architect for over 40 years. While in college in the 80s, I worked on the first section of Robin Wood Estates in town, and since then I've designed millions of square feet of space. I make my living developing land. I've studied the proposed project and would like to share some analysis and some observations with the town board as you consider adopting this proposed road. What is being proposed and how can it be accommodated by the land? As we've heard, the proposed development includes 9 duplex townhouses, each on a lot of at least 40,000 square feet, access from a single connection to Wooddale Drive, with stormwater management facilities, and on the previous diagram it showed 15 acres involved in that. So how does the land accommodate that? The first step in looking at that is what land is available to be developed. The Town of Clifton Park zoning code defines base density as measurement of the capacity of a parcel or parcels to support the creation of lots or development sites as expressed in dwelling units per acre, which is calculated by subtracting the constrained land acreage from the total acreage of the parcel. So constrained land, defined in the zoning ordinance, is the parcel's acreage that includes surface water bodies, DEC regulated freshwater wetlands, federally regulated wetlands, 100-year floodplains, and lands with slopes 20% or greater measured across a 50-foot horizontal distance. These constrained items are identified to limit harmful disturbances to the land and detrimental impacts to the community. In terms of constrained land, this parcel has a stream, federal wetlands along the entire southern side, the southern half of the property, and in terms of slopes greater than 20%, there are significant slopes. There's one section that drops 70 feet, a dramatic grade change not often seen in our town. This really puts the cliff in Clifton Park. A third of this area outside of the wetlands still has slopes greater than 20%, therefore constrained. While lot areas can include constrained areas, anything constructed on the site, buildings, driveways, roads, sidewalks, stormwater facilities, can only be constructed on unconstrained land, and grading cannot occur in wetlands or their buffers. When the site is measured and the constrained area is removed, the existing area of unconstrained land on which buildings can occur is 5.5 acres.
Wow.
So how can this site be developed as proposed? How can constrained areas outside of the wetlands be made unconstrained and usable? They need to be graded to be buildable slopes. To do this, the 8.4 acres of non-wetland area, which is all that remains, 8.4 acres, would have to be regraded, which means all of the existing vegetation and trees would need to be removed from the border with the northway all the way to the rear property lines of the Wooddale property. This is not a regrading project. It would require massive amounts of fill. The road enters the site 80 feet above the elevation at the cul-de-sac at the other end. If that road were to drop at the maximum slope allowed by New York State DOT, it would still be 40 feet above the existing grade when it reaches the wetlands at the other end. Also, where the first few lots occur along the northway, where the road is diving quickly as possible, with the maximum building side slope, because you'd have to tilt it this way too to be as low as possible. Still, it would be 40 feet above the elevation of the northway at that edge.
40 seconds, sir.
So, in essence, we are not seeing a plan that has any serious studied grading on it. When you do that, The fill on this site has to be 40 feet up. Means we have 1,000-foot long retaining wall that goes here and along the stream in order to make this possible. So, what will we end up with? We'll end up with a piece of property that has very, very steep roadways, the maximum that would be allowed, and try to picture school buses, moving vans, garbage trucks going down and around that curve. So I cannot recommend that the town get involved in this project and adopt this roadway. Thank you.
Thank you. Dave?
Sorry, just one copy to the record, I'm sorry.
Hurry up.
I'm gonna do this because everybody can hear me. It's not hear the feedback there. David Miller, 12 Hidden Valley Lane, Boston Lake, New York, down the road from the project. I concur with those who've spoken before me on the negative impacts of adopting this road and this proposed development. From safety issues with the sightline and hairpin turn, and you're going to hear more about that later when Matt, our engineer, arrives. The slopes that Bill talked about, causing a host of issues in maintaining the road, the resulting pollution, the runoff to the wetlands and the stream below, the inadequate stormwater management because of the erosion to follow, and the slopes going forward, the limited and tight configuration of the inner road for emergency vehicles and road crews, not to mention the issue associated with us from increasing noise in the neighborhood from the thruway to Wooddale. And they're planning to clear cut the property in those areas, as we said, because that's the only way you're going to level it. So my question is to the town board and to the town, do you really want to take on this liability? Why would you? You have no legal or otherwise obligation to do so. So why would you subsidize such a harmful proposal? Make no mistake, that is what you're doing. You're going to use taxpayer dollars by adopting the road to subsidize this irresponsible, in my view, project. So don't give the leg up to the developer and destroy the character of our neighborhood and hurt our property values with taxpayer dollars. And the town subsidies for this project and costs won't end there, because from road maintenance to stormwater issues and erosion and day-to-day management, there's also going to be the issues that the site needs a sewer pump station and grinder pumps. And who will maintain them? Well, they'll say they'll be privately maintained, but the town board has gone down that road before, where many years, 15 years later, people didn't care what you said 15 years ago. They wanted you to take care of your grinder pumps. So now you know all the reasons tonight why you should vote not to adopt this road as the applicant requested. And to add to these reasons, I have 206 additional reasons of residents all around Country Knoll. 206 Country Knoll residents signed these petitions not to adopt the road and not to support this project. I've lived in Country Knolls for a long time with my wife here, Christine, 27 years. And we've known other residents who've been there 50 years. And I've never seen anything so unifying. And everyone door I knocked on said no to this project and want our neighborhood preserved. So let me close with some history. The Manhattan designed this, as Jim said, in the late 60s and 70s and never intended to build into this area or build into this project. He, Mr. Bonney, came in, bought a piece of landlocked land that Belmonte wanted to buy as open space to use for another proposal because he has some adjacent land closer to Ushers, where that's the access would be. But Mr. Bonney outbid him on that effort. And then he bought a piece of residential property to create where the paper street that was never intended to be used, but was just left on the deed to be used to go forward. So furthermore, Country Knoll's development has not changed, just so you know this, in 50 years. No new roads, no, it was a full planned out development. Our neighborhood, our homes have been the same for over 50 to 60 years. And as I said, we've raised 4 children there. It's a great place to live. It's a great neighborhood. And I don't want accidents there. I don't want that buffer destroyed. I don't want the environment. So let's do the right thing. Let's not adopt this road. Let's put an end to what some neighbors are calling, I'm just saying, I'm just repeating what I hear, Mr. Bonnie's white whale of a project. That's his Moby Dick for those literary fans. It is madness to go into this area and develop this route. But if Mr. Bonnie, in the future, gives up on this effort and wants to cut his losses, as chair of the town's open space committee, we voted without objection last week to add this entire parcel to our land preservation and acquisition strategy. Is that it? It's
40 seconds.
30 seconds?
35.
Okay, 35, fine. I'm almost done. But acquisition document, and that in that situation, if it is available, we would urge the town board to pursue it as an open space reserve. We did that in Country Knolls in the 2000s. Still one of our first projects that we did, Round Lake Reservoir, negotiations with the village of Round Lake. This would be a beautiful bookend to that. I thank everyone for coming tonight. I thank you, the town board, for listening to our concerns and call to actions. Let's stop the madness. Let's not adopt this.
Thank you, James.
How you doing tonight?
My name is Jack Rachesky. I live on 173 Wooddale Drive. I've lived here over 50 years. My only request is a couple, actually. What really concerned me originally is the engineer firm representative talked about working with the town board, or the planning board rather, to make changes as they went along. And I was a little bit concerned because the planning board threw up their hands and said, wait, it belongs in your hands because the road is the key factor in this regard. So I'm wondering, have you been working directly with the planning board since they acted, or were you describing, it sounded to me as if you were describing a continuous process up to now. So have you been working with the planning board regularly?
For the record, May 10th was the last planning board meeting that we got the positive referral recommendation from the planning board to come here. We're ready to move forward with the cluster subdivision that I described tonight.
I also remember once before, I heard the representatives of the program say that something was approved by, I think it was the town board, as a matter of fact. But I could be wrong. The only thing that really does concern me at this point, because eloquent people have spoken before me, I would invite each of you to take a few minutes, drive your car up to Usher's Road, go up Wooddale Drive, and then stop the car, park it on Arbor View where it meets Wooddale Drive. All right? I don't know where it is on this one, so there's no sense in pointing this one out.
Yes, I'll help you, Jack.
Because I did this already.
Right here.
Okay, all right, that's good, okay.
And then there's where it come out, and this is the top of the hill,
All right.
right here, and anything back here can't see that.
I was here about a week and a half ago, and I said, okay, now where is this? What we really need is a big photograph, because this, we got a sight line from here up to here and to about here, and then nothing. Okay? This is a blockage right here. Now, if you drive on Wooddale Drive, you're going to notice two paint stripes in the center of the road. This is a residential road. Can you think of any other road in Clifton Park that's in a development that has two travel lines on it? Think about it. There's only one road that I'm aware of that has two lines in it, like as if it were a highway. I can tell you why they're there, because I've been around long enough. Somebody was probably slightly inebriated, but drove at night up Wooddale Drive fast in this direction and went off the road and smashed his car into a hole. Thereafter, a few weeks later, the town put up two lines that invites everybody new to the neighborhood to treat this mentally as coming from here. a highway or from Usher's Road. I can drive just as fast. A stop sign, which doesn't, that is at Sweetbriar Drive, that actually does not conform with the Department of Transportation regulations. I spoke with an engineer several years ago about that because it's a key intersection. You can't put a stop, you should not, the town did it, but you should not put a stop sign on a straight road like Wooddale Drive when it's a T intersection like that. Unless you deliberately set up a four-way stop, I guess a three-way. They do it on four-way, but he did say you couldn't do it. So in any event, there's this straightaway, straight road, inviting people, especially strangers, to come down here, zooming down, and hit this area, and then start going down. There's a convenient little line here. I'm sure it doesn't represent elevation, but that's where the road starts tilting down. The road tilts down right around here.
Jack, show them where
Sure.
you live.
25
Jack, show
seconds,
them where
sir.
you live.
Oh, I live.
Just down at the end.
Where's 173?
Right there.
Right here? Yeah, there it is, right here. Right here. Actually, there's a huge steep grade. It's the steepest one. The wall. It's great. I don't all my roots there. I have a don't bag. Those who bag will understand.
I'm sure it's on your property.
Your time is up, sir.
Thank you.
Before you go, before you get yourself into trouble. For the record, we do not condone that dumping these. We have pickup, or you can bring them to the transfer station.
On my
And
property, I could have.
and you don't need a permit.
I have a great compost plot.
All right, well, that's 2 visits we have to make.
My name is David Alexander. I live at 14 Berkshire Drive West in Brooklyn Park. I serve on the Environmental Conservation Committee with Jim and Dan Mathias and other people here, Amy. The reason I'm here is I've walked the site, I've studied the drawings, the layout plans and the like. I'm here to offer my professional experience. I'm trained academically in the environmental sciences and engineering. I've worked professionally since 1972 in the field, in government, academia, industry, and I've owned a consulting firm for the last 20 some odd years. So I have some substantial experience in these kinds of projects. In walking the site, I think I was actually even more surprised because I had not walked the site prior to about 5 weeks ago. So I walked the site from down here all the way around and exited on the paper road right here. And the elevation extreme that was mentioned is dramatic. It's a cliff, a steep ravine in various locations. I realized that anything can be engineered with sufficient dollars, and I have no axe to grind with the applicant. I respect and honor your desire to want to build a project. But I do think that this project offers some really unique problems. You have a wonderful tree canopy here and a very large noise source with the Northway. Removal of this tree canopy, remembering that this is a parabola, tends to concentrate noise. It'll bring that noise right up along the slopes. The noise doesn't disappear, it just rebounds. So you'll end up with folks on Wooddale Drive hearing a lot more from the Northway than they've ever heard in their lives. I mean, this Northway noise will be open to much of the community now that previously wasn't. There will be a dramatic amount of large standing. I mean, I could put my arms around some of those trees like this. There's some very mature foliage down there. Walking the ground, it's sandy, silty, so you sink in, which means there's been historically a lot of water infiltration in the area. It's a natural recharge. That Class A stream gets recharged because this area gets recharged, holds a lot of water. The more water that ends up getting diverted from this because of foundations and the roadway and the like, the harder it is on that stream to receive it. The stream is built for essentially the dilutive effect of water flow. The more you concentrate that water flow, the harder it is on the stream itself, which may cause more erosion, downstream as a result of densifying that water flow. I talked to Transfinders, which is a major school bus training company. I talked to one of their senior analysts about the location of a school bus stop. Now, I can't say how Shen would treat this because I didn't ask Shen, but I can tell you how a company that trains most of the major busing, entities in North America says we would never allow our buses to drive down a cul-de-sac. In particular, if this is a private road, we won't allow buses on an incline like this in bad weather. We would have the buses at the most stop here. And if you look at this and you look at the elevation change, people down here cannot see this bus stop. So they're going to have elementary school kids at a bus stop they can't see. Most neighborhoods that you don't see that. Most neighborhoods, even where the bus stop may be invisible from an individual house, the bus route itself still is visible to the community. In this case, this entire neighborhood won't be able to see the bus stop. I think that's a very serious problem. I realize we have time issues. There's a lot to talk about. If this were my dollar, I wouldn't build here. And I think I have enough experience to tell you how people spend their dollars. Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else? David? Yes, sir. Come on up.
My name's Nate Silva. I live at 8B Lacrosse Drive. I initially heard about this project and was excited by the opportunity for some affordable housing in the exit 10 and upper road community. I've grown up there my entire life and currently own a very small townhome on Lacrosse Drive. Kind of have outgrown that home. I'm actually in the process of selling that home and having a very difficult time finding something in this particular area at an affordable price point. That's why I'm here. I saw this as an opportunity to hopefully have some more affordable housing opportunities in this area. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Come on up, please.
My name is Matt Russo. I live at 798 Wake Road. I'm a real estate agent in New York State. I was the one who sold the Vistas West project, and I'm here to speak for it. We do need housing in this area, and I understand nobody wants it in their backyard, and I understand that there's no perfect project. But any of the issues they're talking about has to be engineered. Your town engineer has to agree with it, or it just doesn't happen. The reason for the need for the housing, 6 o'clock tonight, I just ran everything. So of available houses in Clifton Park right now for sale, there's 46 of them. I didn't put prices from 0 to whatever the top number. It's 46 total. Of the 46, 22 of those are new construction houses. And I don't remember the number. Right now, the average asking price on a new construction house, so we've got 22 new construction, the average asking price without any upgrades is $590,000 in Clifton Park. We've got a couple of the townhouses over on Iditarod for $398, $409, $439. We just need projects like this. There's 24 other houses for sale in the entire scope of things that can be sold in Clifton Park. So that's it. I just need you to think of that. Again, there aren't perfect projects. This can only happen if he does his job and your town agrees. That's what it is. Thank you.
You mentioned, are you saying there's 46 total houses or?
So what I did is on the MLS, I just put in active. So I did as simple as possible. I did town of Clifton Park, and I did Shen schools.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do 2 stories. I did nothing more than that.
Oh.
46 total came up as active, meaning for sale. Of the 46, 22 were to-be builds. They're not really available unless you buy them. So that means 24 houses are for sale, and that's why we can't find anything. If we can build some more lower stuff, and the good thing too is, even with the houses like this, when we did Vistas West, we had 24 sales there. 0 people went into the schools. I mean, it's just the way it was set up is it wasn't limited to age, but everybody was older that bought those things at that time. So, okay.
Thank you. Yes, in the back. Come on up. You doing tonight?
Hello, my name is Gunda Butcha. I live in 171 Woodville Drive. So we are directly impacted from this project.
Mhm.
I actually only would like to point out, I agree fully what my previous speakers pointed out already. So I only want to point out that Wooddale Drive, as it is right now, is already pretty dangerous. A few years back, my husband was coming from work at 5 p.m., driving from, coming from Ushers into Wooddale, driving into our driveway, and got so badly hit by other car following him that his car was totaled. So even without this development and 36 extra cars coming along this way, we have already a traffic problem with speeding and dangerous driving, even during daytime hours, 5 o'clock. We also adopted 4 cats, farm cats, a few years back, and from the 4 farm cats, which are supposed to be outside and going into the woods, but unfortunately they walked towards the street. Only 2 survived because 2 were killed from cars. So I think this development will make Wooddale even more dangerous to drive and to walk, especially lots of retired people who like to walk in the evenings or afternoons along the street. And there is no walkway, no pedestrian way, and I think it will increase the danger of the street. That's all.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Justin Galson. I live at 155 Wooddale Drive. This is my property right here. So the problem with Wooddale Drive is that, as Jack said, this is the top of a hill. When people come, speed limit on Wooddale Drive is 30. Speed limit right around from here down to here, God knows, I don't know. Living here, I can tell you that the average car flies down Wooddale Drive very, very quickly every year. This will add a lot more traffic for people that are continuing to fly in either direction. As Jack said, somebody was inebriated many years ago and died right on my property from an accident. 3 winters ago, someone drove so fast they slid across my lawn. I'm driving an all-wheel drive vehicle in the snow. So this is a very, very dangerous part of Wooddale Drive. It's very, very fast. I have a child, a 15-year-old, that gets on the bus in the morning. She waits right over there. I have a 12-year-old. At the end of the day, he gets off the bus right over here. So I'm directly impacted by the additional traffic that's going to be put on this road. So I'm here to say that I would not want this road here because this section of Wooddale Drive is dangerous.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Come on up, please.
Hi. My name's Joe Edson. I live at 580 Valley. I've lived there since 1983. My wife and I walk considerably. This area they're talking about, this curve, is the only place we won't walk because we've both almost been hit. I cannot imagine why you would want to increase the traffic. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to speak? Yes, sir.
My name is Sean Sider. I live at 25 Huntington Parkway. I just, same thing with like as far as like the pricing of the houses. Looking, my father's looking to downsize, stay near the grandkids and stuff like that. I just think it'd be a good area. And as far as like that road goes, it is on the outside as long as they follow the engineer specs. And as far as the line of sight and stuff like that, I don't see why that it would be too big of an issue.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay.
I have a question.
Kevin?
I got a few words to say.
Sure.
Hi, I'm Kathy Bonney. I live on 904 Bloom Road. I'm Larry's wife. I'm just giving a little history because there's some other people on the town board that don't know about it. Past 15 years, past 15 years of everything the town has asked for, we have done. The only thing that is happening is we're getting a roadblock. The PDD application in 2006 was filed to the town board for 96 acres between Bonnie, Belmonte, and Van Patten. 2008, the PDD application was forwarded to the planning department. Because of the negative feedback with the homeowners on exit 10, Larry met with Supervisor Barrett, Councilman Sandy Roth, and the planning department director, Kate Manor. They wanted something better than just a regular subdivision. We came back with 194 units of single-story cottages homes with rear garages for senior homeowners downsizing. 2 entrances were off the Ushers Road, and on Wooddale, that was going to be a stub street to be gated and used as a bike trail for emergency access only. The planning board loved the changes, received a letter of recommendation from Steve Bolger, the past chairman of the planning board, and voted and recommended for the approval of the PDD. 2011, Steve Bolger said the town was getting negative feedback. Because of this, the town asked for a full environmental impact statement, the EIS. Cost us over $100,000 to do. The town's history, we were the first to have asked to have this done. Because of the planning's positive recommendation on the project, we went forward with it. 2012, EIS was completed, submitted to the town board. A required public meeting was held and a negative declaration was adopted by the town board, finding no significant environmental impact of the project. After 6 years with submittals for any studies that were asked for, engineering changes asked for, the project was still denied to be brought up to vote by the town board. Larry was then told to go to the zoning board to see what he could do with his own property. Larry has now gone to his own on 30 acres, went to court because he didn't agree with the zoning board on what he could do with his property. He won through the appellate court decision 5-0 that he could build 72 houses. Normally, after the approval of the town, with 2 property owners butting up to the substreet, the town and the 2 owners went to court and had our only entrance taken away. Ownership was awarded a split 60 feet divided by the 2 adjacent property owners. The town board can still use this as an access road to their discretion. We have since purchased 161 Wooddale in order to get to our property. Zoning states we may have the right to put in a duplex similar to the units. Because of the pushback, Bill told us to meet with the town board members to see their input on the town taking over the road before wasting more time and money. We met with Tony, Linda, and Amy and told them about the pushback that we were getting from exit 10 area. None of them saw any issues and with taking over the road. Then we met with Dan Bull from the highway supervisor, and he had no issues as long as the guidelines were met, and he has no problems. And he's also given a letter. Because of them seeing no issues, we moved forward with the planning department, zoned for 9 duplexes. Went in front of the planning board, asked for 18 unit townhouses like the Vista, and they like the idea of cluster townhomes. Normally, planning board gives approvals to build, and then it goes to the town board to accept the road after the build out. But this case, they asked us to go in front of the town board for approvals. For 15 years, we have done everything asked for and then gotten pushed back. I do understand the pleasing of the people by the town board. We received a copy of your signatures handed in from Jim Rule and David Miller, dated May 23rd, 2022, which included 206 signatures from Country Knolls residents, asking not to accept the proposed access road. If you look at the signatures on page 5, signed by John and Margaret Rosinski, I'm sorry about the way I say your name, on May 15th, from 173 Wooddale, they also signed the page on page 18, dated 5/22/21. So, and then on pages 11, 12, and 13 are the same copies on page 15, 16, and 17. That's 30 other handouts that you guys gave, that we got from the clerk's office. I'm only sharing the history because I want to show for 15 years that we've done everything that was asked to us to do. So the town wouldn't get the negative feedback, and so we had the right to build on something we own. We have also purchased 161 Wooddale, as you know, to get to the property. We're asking for the approval from the town board so we can move forward. And yes, there's a lot of things that we're going to have to oversee and overtake. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Well,
I apologize
is
if there were some copies that were miscollated.
No, they're numbered issue.
They're
numbered. They're numbered 1 to 19.
Excuse me?
You have pages 1 to 19.
Yes, and I'm sorry if somebody couldn't collating it.
Okay.
At somebody's printer that, when making copies off the printer, they got mixed up a little bit, and it's 30 or there's a 30 differential. I still think there's not a lot of difference between 176 and 206. everybody we went to said no for this project. And the planning board, for the record, did not endorse this project and send it over to
Want to
you.
come back up?
Any last points that you want to make?
Yeah, just wanted to state that, I did get a chance to review the signatures, and what I looked for was how many of those residents immediately abut our project, and 4 out of the 11 are on that petition. The other ones are not on there, including lands of Mohan, which is what the litigation is about. So you would think she'd be the first one on the signature.
She's elderly and she is in bad health. We were not gonna bother her.
All right.
The entire neighborhood was on. The planning board did not recommend this project to the town board. Do not misrepresent the planning board.
Thank you. All right, is there any other points that you want to make?
Yeah, I got the notes here. So just a couple of the concerns that they brought up. At part of my presentation, I did explain the topography of this land. It does sit much lower. Being that it's much lower, and after the vegetation is cleared, not only will we comply with the New York State DEC stormwater and erosion control methods, we are preserving a lot of the trees along those steep slopes so that we're not impacting what's out there. What they see today, we're not touching that. Everything that we're doing, we're designing. We have no retaining walls. I don't know where the other guys saw retaining walls here, but we're not designing any retaining walls. All the slopes that we are designing are 1-on-3, which is a mobile slope. We will use slope protection as we do the construction. As far as stormwater runoff, we do have a DEC stormwater design practice that will sit at the bottom lower elevation of the site, which will capture any of the runoff from this project and be slowed down so that it will release to its natural state. Again, meeting the DEC standards where we can't discharge water faster than what's going out there today. We do know that when the vegetation is removed and the houses are up, the houses actually provide a buffer, a sound barrier, because from the north way, they will bounce off. It was noted, they would bounce off, right? Off the back of these homes. It's a proven fact, because what do you do when the vegetation in the wintertime, you have no foliage, right? The sound will go through. You put houses with that, it will deter some of that noise. So we did look at that again during the planning board. If you look further northwest, there are several houses that are much closer to the northway than what we're proposing here. These were all things that were discussed with the planning board, and we've worked through them, and that's why we're at this point here. They're looking at it. Everything that we're talking about tonight is seeker. Seekers to be determined by the planning board. We're here for the location of that town road. In 1968, I didn't put that paper street there. That paper street was picked by the planning board at the time of the subdivision for Country Knolls. And, that's where we have to provide this roadway. Now, if it's not a town road, it could be a private road. So it would be better if it's a town road where the town can own and maintain it. If there's concerns about traffic and speed, we could put stop signs up to control the traffic. There's mitigation measures that can be done at this level, at the planning board level, and putting stop signs at this proposed location. We've done our due diligence. We have to do more. We understand that. We're at the preliminary phases, and we're willing to do that. So,
thank you. So if there's any additional information that anybody would like to provide to us, you can certainly do that following the meeting. So, and I understand that not everybody's going.
Could I just clarify?
But they're saying may not, the folks that are here against the project may not agree with it, vice versa. So there is opportunity for you to send additional information forward. So please take that opportunity.
Can I just have a clarity? The planning board at their last meeting on May 10th did not approve the project, did not send it to you they said they did not want to consider it again until they understood what your intent was. That was the quote from, and asked the applicant to apply for an offer of cession. So the planning board has made no determination on whether they will approve or not approve the project.
Yeah, John Scarbo's not here tonight. Is there,
I did not, they did not do a notice of decision.
well, no.
Still 35 issues the planning department is discussing with the applicant.
Okay. Alrighty, well, there's been a lot of talk about the site distance, and Dan, you sent a letter about the site. Is there anything you want to mention about that?
So, I was asked about a site distance issue. I asked the developer to get me a study. I reviewed the study, went out and saw that the situation was fitting for what he saw. I sent him a letter back and said, we're just gonna have, I said, thank you for the study. I went out and took a look. It looks like it's in good shape, but I'm gonna have our town engineers review it as well as part of the project, and then I handed that off to John Scavo to hand off to NJ engineer.
So the
Did you
review
look at our
isn't,
study too?
Yeah, I just got it right here.
Good, thank you.
so the review isn't done yet?
No, they just asked me if I could do a site distance analysis. I said, if you can present me with a report, I'll review the report and then have the town engineer review it. So as of now, I don't have a return back from that.
Oh. Yep.
Yeah. I guess, John isn't here. Has the ESAB seen these plans and had a report at any planning board meeting? Okay, there's a no. There was a question when there was something came up about the maximum width of the roadway, and that the grade of the roadway, not what school buses said they wouldn't go. So I don't know if the Johnson Fire Department or if SAB has looked at this project, and if the road does qualify for the largest fire engine to go in. And also, is the entrance, the road going into the development from Woodville, is that a completely straight roadway between 161 and what I would assume would be 159?
It's at the beginning of the curve. Is that what you're asking here?
So is the road straight or curved?
It's the beginning of the curve. So you get both straight and the start of the curve. You're at the beginning point of the curve at that point.
I have a picture of this site. Is the width of that road then as to the ESAB recommendation, or have they seen
Can
it?
you just clarify the ESAB? I'm not-
Emergency Service Advisory Board. In other words, the roads have to be wired for the biggest fire truck
Yes.
in that district.
So this town road width meets that. It meets the requirement for not only the load capacity, the grades are 3 to 7%. Per New York State Fire Code, fire truck can traverse down a 10% grade, and we're less than 7%. So we meet all of those criteria items, not only for the New York State Fire and Emergency Code, but also the town code. This is a road design that meets the town specs 100%.
And how much of a curve on the entry left? Small?
Small.
Okay, any other comments from the board at this point? All right, as far as,
Do you think garbage trucks can get down and do that?
Absolutely. The cul-de-sac is designed appropriately for the turnaround. It meets the New York State Fire Code.
Slow, garbage trucks in the winter, good luck.
so we, our upcoming meetings, we have a meeting next week and then in early July. So I can't say what meeting any decisions would be made. We're not, at least I'm not planning to put anything forward tonight on a vote. In case there's additional research that the board wants to do. But the earliest it could be is next week, or early July. Those are our next two meetings, okay? So, all right, there's no other questions from the board. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for coming and participating in the public forum. We do have several resolutions for consideration, recently, but,
It's too busy planning now.
I'm sorry.
On and on.
Yeah.
Incorporated for in conjunction with the existing assessment and real property information, whereas resolution number 254 of 2021 authorized Walter Steve, sole assessor, to request the installation of a web service to integrate real property data with additional comprehensive assessment and real property information on the assessment page of the ClickPark.org website. And whereas after successful launching of the SDG image made online for systems development group incorporated, the assessor wishes to allow the integration of geographical information system, GIS data with the addition of an ESRI map viewer component. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby accepts the recommendation of Mr. Speed to allow residents and others to utilize GIS data integrated with existing real property data, and be it further resolved that the assessor is authorized to request the installation and hosting of the GIS component to the existing SDG image made online for systems development group under New York State OGS backdrop contract at a cost not to exceed $4,500 to be paid from assessors consultants. A resolution to authorize the supervisor to sign an agreement with Green & Pearson Incorporated, GPI, for engineering design services related to the New York State 146-146A bicycle and pedestrian improvements project. Whereas by resolution number 82 of 2022, the town authorized the implementation and funding of the New York State 146-146A improvements project and appropriated $182,000 in capital project improvements, New York State 146-146A improvements, to cover the cost of the design phase of the project. And whereas expressions of interest were solicited in November of 2018, and GPI was the sole applicant to respond to the solicitation in an amount not to exceed $182,000. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board authorizes the supervisor to sign an agreement with GPI for engineering design services for the New York State 146-146A bicycle and pedestrian improvement project in an amount not to exceed $182,000 to be paid from capital project funds. A resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign a lease agreement with National Business Technologies for a digital copying system for use by the Building and Development Office. Whereas Director of Building and Development Stephen Myers has requested that a new digital copier printer be released for use by the department, and whereas the proposed cost for leasing the copier has been budgeted for the attached schedule, and whereas quotes were received with National Business Technologies submitting the lowest quote for a lease plus service charge totaling $149.71 per month, plus 0.0057 for black and white copies that exceed 2,500 pages, and 0.047 for color copies. Now therefore be it resolved that the town supervisor is authorized to enter into a lease agreement with National Business Technologies for a Cosera Task Alpha 3352 CI copier printer system for 36 months for a lease plus service charge totaling $149.71 per month, plus copy charges as listed above to be paid from Building and Development copier. A resolution awarding the contract for demolition of the White Building pursuant to a competitive bid, whereas by resolution number 20 of 2022, the town board authorized acceptance of depreciation estimates from Selective Insurance for the fire loss of the White Building used by the Highway Department, and authorized preparation for its demolition and replacement. And whereas the Highway Superintendent published bid specifications and solicited sealed bids for demolition of the structure pursuant to General Municipal Law 103. And whereas bids were opened on May 27, 2022, and whereas the Highway Superintendent has submitted a resolution request which seeks authority to award the bid to Daytona and Sons LLC and transfer funds from the general fund to offset the cost of the demolition. And whereas the resolution request contains no bid analysis, reference check, or formal recommendation to award the bid as low bidder.
Now therefore be it resolved that the comptroller is authorized to transfer funds from unassigned fund balance to the general fund highway garage equipment with a possible reimbursement from insurance proceeds. And be it further resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized to execute all contract documents implementing this resolution. Therefore, be it resolved that the highway superintendent is authorized to notify Detono and Sons LLC to proceed with demolition once contract documents are executed between Detono and Sons and the town of Oakland Park. A resolution hiring seasonal staff for the 2022 Parks and Recreation programs, whereas the town board wishes to hire additional staff for the summer 2022 pool season, and whereas Myla Kramer, Director of Parks, Recreation, and Community Affairs, has recommended that the individuals listed in the attached Schedule A be hired. Now therefore be it resolved that the individuals listed in the attached Schedule A be accepted as staff for the town's pools to be paid as indicated on the schedule through the end of the respective season. A resolution authorizing tent rentals for the summer season and a transfer of funds from contingency to cover the increased cost. Whereas quotes were received per the attached Schedule A for renting tents for the fall day camp at the Clifton Common, and whereas Clifton Park Rental submitted the lowest quote, an amount not to exceed $7,415.30, and whereas $400,000 was allocated in the adopted 2022 budget line, summer recreation, other contractual, to be used for tent rentals and other expenses. And whereas the Director of Parks, Recreation, and Community Affairs, Myla Kramer, has requested that an additional $5,216 is needed to cover the increased costs in tent rentals to be used for the full day camp. Now therefore be it resolved that the Director is authorized to accept the quote from Clifton Park Rental in an amount not to exceed $7,416, and be it further resolved that the comptroller is authorized to transfer $5,216 from contingency other contractual to general fund full day camp other contractual. A resolution to authorize fence and backstop repairs to fields 2 and 3 at the Veterans Memorial Park, whereas Daniel Clemens, Director of Buildings, Parks, and Recreation, sought quotes for the repair of the fences and backstops at fields 2 and 3 at Veterans Memorial Park, and whereas Mariahville Fence submitted the lowest responsive quote in the total amount of $8,080 for the repairs to the chain link fence and backstops at both fields. Now therefore be it resolved that the Director of Buildings, Parks, and Recreation is authorized to accept the quote from Mariahville Fence for fields 2 and 3 per the attached documents to be paid from Veterans Memorial Park equipment. A resolution authorizing the hiring of William Torres as 2022 summer help for the Buildings and Grounds Department, whereas an opening exists for seasonal help at the Barney Road Golf Course, and whereas Daniel Clemens, Director of Buildings, Parks, and Recreation, has recommended that William Torres be hired to fill the seasonal position. Now therefore be it resolved that William Torres, 56 Ray Road, Rexford, be employed as a seasonal worker for Buildings and Grounds for 2022 to be paid $18 an hour from the Barney Road Golf Course Assistant budget line effective immediately. A resolution increasing trips and tours for the senior center revenues and expenditures by $39,250 for trips sponsored by the Clifton Park Senior Community Center. Whereas the Clifton Park Senior Community Center is offering a multi-day trip to Maine, September 26th through 29th, 2022, and 6 individual day trips between September and December, as listed on the attached schedule, and whereas the Senior Community Center will collect fees from participants for the bus trips. Now therefore be it resolved that 2022 trip revenues is hereby increased by $39,250, and trips and tours, other contractual expenditures, is hereby increased by $39,250. A resolution authorizing the transfer of funds to cover the cost of long arm extensions for the town's street lighting project, whereas as estimated, $550,000 was allocated in the adopted 2022 budget line street light purchases, and whereas Executive Electric subcontractor for Siemens Industrial as the installation contractor for the newly acquired lights has identified 8 National Grid poles which have been moved, replaced, or otherwise changed since the original audit was prepared, and for which the arm for street light attachments have been removed. And whereas Executive Electric has advised the town that it will need installation of long arm extensions and wiring to complete the streetlight project in an amount not to exceed $14,190 to be paid from lighting district equipment. Now therefore be it resolved that the supervisor is authorized to accept the quote in the amount not to exceed $14,190, and the comptroller is authorized to transfer $14,190 from contingency other contractual to the lighting district equipment line. A resolution appointing a hearing officer pursuant to Civil Service Law, Section 75, whereas on April 27, 2022, the supervisor served a notice of discipline upon a town employee alleging incompetence arising from neglect of job duties, and whereas on May 5, 2022, the employee so noticed served an answer through counsel demanding a hearing on the charges, and whereas the supervisor has referred the charges to the town board for action, now therefore be it resolved that pursuant to Section 75 of the New York State Civil Service Law, the board hereby appoints Carolyn George Cooper Irving as hearing officer to conduct a full hearing on the disciplinary charges, to make a record, and to make recommendations to the board for disposition on the charges so made.
Okay, any questions on the resolution? All right, Teresa, if you can read the headings, please.
Resolution number 164, 2022, a resolution authorizing the assessor to accept a proposal from Systems Development Group Incorporated for a web-based tool to utilize GIS data in conjunction with the existing assessment and real property information.
So moved. Second.
Walter?
Yeah, what this is a new component to the assessment database that we already have out on the town website. This is actually be the last component to it, and it'll be very useful for residents. Residents only have to go to the town website now. They can get all the assessment data that they need. Now they'll be able to have a GIS system where they can look up maps, look up other information. This will be in addition to the tax maps that are out there already. And this database and our assessment database, working with this company, we can update whenever we please. So we can update ownership monthly, every 3 months, every 6 months. So it'll probably be the only place that you'll be able to get current information as to ownership and some other data that is basically open to the public. And some of my data is not open to the public, and some of it is not actually official data yet, but we will put some stuff out there that is, especially ownership, which we probably have, I would say at least, on a rough estimate, at least 100 new owners a month. As far as I know, in Clifton Park, probably 1,000 to 1,200 new a year. And most databases are at least a year old. Ours won't be. Ours will be almost current. So when you say current in the real world, that's as current as you'll ever get. It's going to be a pretty helpful tool.
Yeah, and that's why we embarked on initiating this program that would offer that kind of information much sooner than previously available. All right, any questions for Walter? Okay, Teresa?
Councilwoman Flood?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 165 of 2022, a resolution to authorize the supervisor to sign an agreement with Green & Peterson Incorporated for engineering design services related to the New York State 146-146A bicycle and pedestrian improvement project.
So moved.
John, how are you?
Good, sir. Basically, this project was funded 3.5 years ago on the state TIP, which is Transportation Improvement Project Program. The TIP program's 4 years worth of projects. This year, we've become federally eligible to begin the project, which was November 1st, because it follows the federal fiscal year, so November 1st of last year. However, we delayed the start because there was the potential of getting some recovery money from the federal government that would have freed up this TIP money that we were working with the congressman's office on. When that didn't go forward, we notified CDTC that we are going to follow through with the grant funding that was awarded. So that's some of the timing of November versus where we are today in June. It really doesn't set us behind on schedule because the town did some initial conceptual designs The total project in grant funding, the total project is $1.3 million, of which 20% is a local match. The other 80% will be federally funded. So our share, when we break down the numbers, is about $263,000 for a $1.3 million project. The project includes constructing a 10-foot wide multi-use path from Vistas Drive down to connect to the roundabout on the north side of Route 146 at Honey Hollow and Sterling Heights intersection. There'll be a unsignalized crosswalk at that intersection put in with RRFBs, rectangular rapid flashing beacons, to allow people from the south side to connect up to the north side of that path. Then if we head east down the corridor through the roundabout, we will have a 5-foot sidewalk on the north side of 146, picking up on the east side of the roundabout all the way to School Drive. It's about 2,800 linear feet. And then if we go back to the roundabout and head south, on the east side, there's already a segment of sidewalk put in by Cumberland Farms and the Price Chopper Plaza redevelopment project. We're going to pick up that sidewalk in front of Key Bank and continue it down to connect to the multi-use path that Flag Place currently crosses with an RRFB and then continues on the west side. We'll have it on both sides now. So that'll connect people from the Commons. They won't have to cross the road to go up to Cumberland Farms or through the roundabout to head east or west. So that's basically the project limits. We would be in design phase this year. We should be by fall going into acquisition for any property right away that we may need. We're not anticipating any at this point, but we'll see once we get into detailed survey. There is some wetlands permitting that we do have to go through, and I think we should be ready for construction next year.
Yeah, it's a tremendous project, and yeah, that opportunity came up quickly with the federal program. The project was selected to receive that funding, but it did not end up coming through, unfortunately. But it's a project that crosses a lot of areas, and I think it goes a long way in filling some gaps in our trail network, as well as adding additional opportunities for pedestrian safety. And I think the most underrated part of the project is the improvements along Bishop Ferry Road. But certainly along 146 and the roundabout, that area will benefit greatly, as well as the residents who use that and would like to use that area for pedestrian access more frequently. So, all right, great. Any questions for John? Okay, very good.
Councilwoman Flood?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Walowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 166 of 2022, a resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign a lease agreement with National Business Technologies for a digital copying system for the use by the building.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion.
Councilwoman Flood?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Walowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 167, a resolution awarding the contract for demolition of the White Building pursuant to competitive bid.
So moved. Second.
This is the Highway Department building that was experienced a fire and significant damage. And what's the timeline, Dan, for the removal?
Yep, speaking with the Tono and Sons, they said that they could have this done by the end of the month. We did work with them and with all the other bidders and trying to find ways to reduce costs, but still the Tono came in as the lowest. I actually spoke to John about the Tono. He had a lot of experience with them down in the city of Cohoes, and said that they were doing a nice job. And we spoke with a commissioner from Bishop Ferry Fire Department. If you were seeing some of the work that was being done on Moe Road at their station there, that was Tono and Sons. They did a very nice job. So We will be using some of our material that we have down at Ray Road to fill in the holes so that we can save money that way. And because at some point we're going to be milling the spoils pile down at Ray Road, we cut out a lot of weight by taking that block and sending it down to Ray Road, where it will be milled into shoulder material instead of being sent into a dumpster that would cost us more money. So there we go.
Very good, and I know the fire department's greatly appreciated the opportunity to do some training on the building. It is,
and several of our employees were firefighters that were training on that building, and they were very happy to do so.
Yeah, yeah, they so it's very rare that they get that kind of opportunity to train on a building in that type of situation. But yeah, the building is an important part of the town's operational history, but certainly, unfortunately, we're losing it, and we'll have to look to other options in the future. All right, any discussion?
Just one.
Oh, yes.
One question, Dan, on the bid from Totono and Sons. It looked pretty bare bones. They didn't have any exclusions. Some of the other bids had specific exclusions. Is that anything that we're concerned about? I don't know if it's for you or for Tom, that perhaps down the road a little they say, well, we didn't.
Yeah, I talked to them. It's a lump sum bid. So everything that they're going to be doing is going to be that $38,000. We did ask for bid bonds just in case. They said there's not going to be any issues with that. But they said all the processes that were outlined in the bid, they're going to meet for that price.
Good.
Councilwoman Flood?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Malowit?
Yes.
Supervisor Barron?
Yes.
Resolution number 168 of 2022, a resolution hiring seasonal staff for 2022 Parks and Recreation programs.
So moved. Second?
So our pool managers have recommended these individuals listed be the head lifeguards, new head lifeguards. We also have a list of lifeguards who have submitted applications. They have completed their training, and they will be added to the roster. Any discussion?
Councilwoman Flood?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Malowit?
Yes.
Supervisor Barron?
Yes.
Resolution number 169 of 2022, a resolution authorizing tent rentals for the summer season and a transfer of funds from contingency to cover the increased costs.
So moved.
Second.
So camp is upon us. It's always a happy day. So any updates, Mila?
Well, camp updates, we are almost full. So we went up to 220 kids. And our weeks, I think, our 7th and 8th graders, we have 1 week that still has some spots. And for the 1st through 6th graders, we have, I think there might only be 2 weeks. Although we did get some cancellations last week, people finding out like when their vacations are. But we're almost full, and the tents in the sort of like the, not counting the past 2 years, we would only have 1 tent over at the Common, and we never really had the ability to have, especially as our numbers have increased over the years, we haven't been able to have all of the kids under the tents at one time. With COVID, we needing to space the kids out more, we brought in 4, I believe it's like 30 by 60 tents. And last year, with restrictions lessening, we went down to 2. And it worked really, really well. We were able to have all of the kids under the tents. It actually allows the campers to be outside more because sort of like if there was like one group out, using the tent, and there could be other kids at other places around the common, but then also using the inside, and it's really saving kind of the inside of the arena for bad weather. So we're really hoping to have the 2 large tents again, and then we had the smaller tent that was in the parking lot for a drop off and pickup. The line that we have in the budget has been used for tents and the cleaners that come in daily to clean the bathrooms at camp. So we did not have the funds to get to larger tents. So I'm hoping that tonight we could have those funds so we could have the 2 large tents again at camp.
Okay, any questions for Milo?
No, I had the opportunity to stop at Jonesville this weekend. Thank you to Lori Hughes for doing all the training of those campers and the camp counselors. They're very excited for the kids to start. And in talking with them, you know, sometimes it's tough when it's really hot and you have these kids all hanging on you all day, but I reminded them that sometimes you're the most important part of their summer. Those kids really, really, really enjoy those camp counselors, so it's going to be exciting.
Okay, Susan?
Councilwoman Flood?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 170 of 2022, a resolution to authorize fence and backstop repairs to fields 2 and 3 at the Veterans Memorial Park.
So,
Second.
All right, last year we did some minor repairs. This year we have some more repairs to do to other fields. After this, Dan, we'll have all the necessary repairs done to all of the fields, right?
Yes, sir, that's correct. Yeah, field 1 is all set. Field 2 and 3 will finish it off. There's just various little problems for each. It's very unique. The posts are popping up this way, that way. And so they have to kind of get dug out, replaced back in, maybe some fabric stretched back out, a new clamp or something like that per field, but this will wrap up the whole thing. So all 3 softball fields at Veterans Park will be with fences and the backstops, and the dugouts will all be straight and nice again.
Yeah, those fences have been up for quite a few years at this point, so it makes sense there's some work to be done there. All right, and they're still heavily used. They have, a lot of softball games going on there throughout the spring, summer, and fall, anyway. Okay. All right, questions for Dan? All right.
Councilwoman Flood?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
yes.
Councilwoman Wallowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 171 of 2022, a resolution authorizing the hiring of William Torres as 2022 summer help for the Buildings and Grounds Department.
So moved.
Second.
All right, so we did lose a employee at the golf course. Dan, tell us a little bit about Mr. Torres.
Yes, so like you said, we lost a guy who had to resign. Fred knew Mr. Torres, gave him a call to see if he was interested. And he came in and had a little talk with him. He's looks like he's ready to go. He's got some outdoor experience. He's done some mowing and stuff in the past. Hasn't been doing it for a while, so it might take him a little bit to get trained up and back into the groove. But we'll start him off mowing the roughs, which aren't quite as important. But he lives local. It'll be quick. He's seems like he's going to be a good guy for the job over there. But the way my luck's going this year, I don't want to say too much more.
You mean not as precise as, say, the cutting greens, right?
Correct. Yes. Yeah, that definitely takes a lot more experience to cut the greens,
Yeah.
and it takes a lot of years to get to the point where you can cut those and not mess them up. So we'll start him off on the easy stuff, and maybe he'll work his way up to doing that.
Yeah. Good. All right. Well, it's good to find somebody that we can plug into that open position in a expedient manner.
Yeah, it was feel lucky that we got somebody so quickly.
Yeah. All right. Any questions for Dan? All right, Teresa.
Councilwoman Flood?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 172 of 2022, a resolution increasing trips and tours senior center revenues and expenditures by $39,250 for a trip sponsored by the Park Senior Community Center.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Sue, tell us about the trips. We're adding more and more trips. They're in demand.
Well, we're not up to what we were in 2019, but the seniors are so happy to
Oh,
be
yeah.
traveling again. And it's been such a long time. So the trips are filling and they're filling quickly. And so we are putting a multiple day trip. I was hesitant to do it at the beginning of the year, but they're ready, they want it. And, you know, our trip budget has been lowered over the last couple of years because COVID happened. And now, so we're not quite, like I said, at 2019, but we're getting closer. So we want this multiple day trip, and then we've got, I think, 6 other trips that we'll be scheduling for them. And the seniors pay, so whatever the cost is, you know, so expenses and
Yeah, it's passed through.
yeah. And they're so happy.
Yeah, they sure are. The relief from many of them just to get back to their routine, the classes that they miss so much. And a lot of those classes we continue to offer, albeit under different circumstances. But I think more and more of them feel more comfortable coming back, and that's really the key. So trips are certainly an example of that. Okay, very good. Teresa?
Councilwoman Flood?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 173 of 2022, a resolution authorizing the transfer of funds to cover the costs of long arm extensions for the town's street lighting project. So moved.
Hey, Dan?
It says some of these light poles, since the initial inventory of all the poles when bought them, they probably an accident or something else happened. National Grid changed the poles and took the arms away. So we need to have these arms in order to put the rest of the street lights on and wire them up. So that's what this is for. I think 14 of them.
And National Grid didn't have a clear accounting of when the poles were moved. It's a little unclear in relation to the audit when they were done. But they are usually they're the result of accidents, subdivisions, which caused poles to be moved. If they didn't need the lights, they didn't replace the arms. So I think with the acquisition, I think this is we talked to them, and I think based on the purchase and sale agreements that this is our responsibility.
Yeah, and I guess we have a choice as to whether we want to actually add the arms, right?
If you want the lights, you need them.
Right, but that's a choice that we make. Yeah.
Correct.
From your standpoint, Dan, is that, I mean, you've physically seen them. I mean, what's your assessment of that?
Yeah, well, I would think that we need to purchase these arms and install the lights.
Okay. Alrighty. You know, one thing that has been great about this process is not only the our ability to go out and make immediate maintenance items or fix things that are broken right away. When it gets to the point where lights do go out, I mean, the LED lights that were installed have a 10-year window at a minimum. So at some point, those will need to be replaced, but that's something that'll be done right away. And National Grid is not exactly seem to make things like replacing light bulbs and other maintenance items a priority. So all in all, the service would be much better to Clifton Park residents.
I've already seen that happen. We've already had that, a couple of lights out here and there, and we took care of them right away versus National Grid sometimes be 4 or 5 months before they come out here.
Yeah, we could tell right away when a light is out.
Yep.
On the program.
Correct.
GIS program, yep. All right. Teresa?
Councilwoman Flood?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 174 of 2022, a resolution appointing a hearing officer pursuant to Civil Service Law, Section 75.
So moved.
Second, Tom, anything you want to add to on this?
No,
Okay, pretty straightforward.
pretty straightforward.
Discussion.
Yeah, just a couple comments. I understand that there has been a second notice of discipline that was served on May 3rd, 2022, but that is missing from this resolution, and nor has it been provided to the board. And that omission causes me a lot of concern, that something's being withheld from the board. Also, my concern with this is that we need more information moving forward, hence the need for a full and independent investigation on this and other reports that have been referred to the town board. So because of those issues and concerns, I do not support this resolution at this time.
Okay, well, we had an employee that asked for a hearing, and that's what we have on the agenda.
Well, I'm new to this board, so what is the process? Because I didn't even know there was any disciplinary actions against any employee, so I wasn't informed of either one. So is there a process, like, do you typically?
With non-union employees who are covered by the civil service law, if there's a notice of discipline that's served, or it's usually generated by the town supervisor as the CEO. And the town board is the appointing authority, which has the final determination as to whether to accept the charges in whole or in part. Typically, the board will refer the hearing to a hearing officer so that they don't conduct this hearing in the public forum. The hearing officer that we recommended, Earl Redding, is here. He's our outside counsel for labor and employment matters. I consulted with him on this and other cases. The hearing officer is a recommendation that he gave to us as a professional, a lawyer schooled with in employment matters. She will conduct a full hearing, make a record, and then refer and make recommendations back as to whether the charges are upheld in whole or in part. Then it would come back to this board as to whether you would review those recommendations and take a vote and make a determination on whether to accept those recommendations and to impose the discipline that was recommended. In this case, it's a 2-day suspension without pay.
Okay, so when disciplinary actions are handed out, should the full board be notified
And they are.
at the time?
I
I wasn't notified of either one.
We were just notified of this.
Well, that's not completely true. I think some members of the board knew about it almost immediately.
Yes, I knew about it because the report came to me and I filed the complaint.
Right, I think there's I think you were advised of this notice at the time as well. But this is the formal time at which the board is notified and is asked to follow the process so that the hearing officer can be appointed and the hearing held. If the employee in this case has counsel, answered the charges and asked for the hearing, he's entitled to the hearing.
What are the rates of this law firm, do we know?
The hearing officer, I believe, is $250 an hour.
Okay, any further discussion?
Sorry, Tom.
Yes.
So we're required under civil service law, section 75, to conduct a hearing, because he requested it, correct?
Yes.
So we have a choice of whether we appoint an officer or whether we do it as a body.
Right.
But we have to hold the hearings, the employee is entitled to it under section 75, correct?
Right.
Is there a timeline, that we're required to conduct this hearing in?
I don't believe there is. Is there, Earl, a civil procedure statute that requires a hearing a certain number of days?
No, there's no requirement. No statutory requirement.
So if there were two, how come the second one's not in the resolution?
The second one presents some complications, and there are at least two recusals that would probably be necessary if the second hearing were, if the second notice of discipline were to proceed. So knowing that it requires 3 votes to appoint a hearing officer and to proceed, Earl and I thought it best to proceed on this notice first. This is a much more comprehensive, you all have it, it's a much more comprehensive list of neglect and other allegations. So the thinking is that if this, after the resolution of this matter, this one, the board would be better positioned to determine how to proceed on the second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay. Teresa?
Councilwoman Flood?
No.
Councilwoman Standard?
No.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowit?
No.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes. Okay. Any other business to come before the board this evening?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, I make a motion for the town board, the town clerk, and the town attorney to enter into executive session for the purposes of discussing a town employee matter with legal counsel covered under New York State Public Officers Law, Article 7, Section 105.
I second that.
Yeah, I also have an item involving an employee that may lead to disciplinary action that I'd like to discuss as well. And,
Yeah, if this is having to do with either of these two disciplinary charges, I would ask that Mr. Redding join us in the executive session as well, since he's been consulting with me throughout.
Do I need to change my motion? I don't have a problem with that.
No, you said,
Okay.
sorry, talking about it.
Yeah, no, you can say
Okay, yeah. Well, that's fine. So town board, town clerk, town attorney, Mr. Redding, to meet with other legal counsel. That's my motion. Thank you.
Councilwoman Flood?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowit? Yes. Supervisor Barrett?
yes.